Hi, you've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, Labor Day's the end of summer, but I'm not ready for my summer style to end.
It doesn't have to. At Old Navy, you can still get amazing dresses and tees.
Old Navy?
Yep, summer's ending, but saving on Old Navy style is just beginning at our pre-Labor Day sale. Right now, get 30% off all jeans, 40% off all dresses, and 50% off all tees for the whole family.
All jeans, dresses, and tees on sale?
Yep, at 30, 40, or 50% off at Old Navy.
I'm ready for that.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid 8/24/8/30 in stores only. Excludes active licensed men's package and clearance.
How long should you wait before pulling the trigger on Odell Beckham? What will be the big stories coming out of this year's Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship live events? And who is this year's High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour FFPC Ascendant? Plus, Greg Sidoris, a fantasy football pioneer and the FFPC's Las Vegas Casino Connection host, drops in to share his thoughts on drafts this year and how it's not too late to get the best rate on the strip for the FFPC live events. And we are broadcasting live here at the Horseshoe Casino in Louisville, Kentucky, as we join you live from the 2017 Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship live events. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour starts now.
Thinking of a master plan. 'Cause ain't nothing but sweat inside my hands. So I dig into my pocket, all my money spent. So I get deeper, but still coming up with lint. So I start my mission, leave my residence. Thinking how could I get some dead presidents? I need money. I used to be a stick-up kid, so I think of all the devious things I did. 1, 2, 3, 4. I used to roll up, this is a hole up. Ain't nothing funny, stop smiling. You still don't nothing move but the money. But now I learned that.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
I don't like to dream about getting paid, so I dig into the books of the rhymes that I made. Soon as the test to see if I
Thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com right here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host, the patron saint of fantasy football, is indeed the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, who are Dave and my sleeper and bust this season, plus the 2017 Ascendant is named before we sign off and start the 2017 Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship auction. We are live here in technically Elizabeth, Indiana, but basically for all intents and purposes, Louisville, Kentucky. For how many years have we been doing this now, Dave? How many years have you actually came to Kentucky with the real Leroy for many years before I started coming here. This is the 16th year of the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. This is probably like coming up on almost 10 years for me, I think. How many is it for you?
It has not been 10 years, though.
I said it's coming up on 10 years for me.
I think it's been like 7 or 8.
For you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For me, it's probably only been like 5 or 6 then, I would imagine.
I should check. I'm not really sure.
The point is, it's a fantastic weekend.
It's amazing. I love it.
The live events essentially are filled at this point, so you'll have to join us next year. But there's a lot of new blood coming in this year. A lot of FFPC players will be here. Danny Mueller will, of course, be here this year. Ray Chung, we're hoping, will stop by the show from Hong Kong, flying in for the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship.
He's flying in from Hong Kong?
He will. Well, he's already been in the United States for a while. He's been on a extended family vacation, and this is one of his pit stops.
Very cool.
In Louisville, so he will be here. So it'll be very cool to have him here tonight. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you guys might have in there. I am at Eric Balkman on Twitter. Dave is at David Gerzak on Twitter. The show is at HSFF Hour on Twitter. Facebook.com/HSFF Hour. 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OBA. highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com is the email address. If you have any questions for us, now is the time to send them. We'll do our best to get to all the chat room questions, tweets, and emails in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. Our audio engineer, Bryce, is commissioning tonight. Our producer, mutual friend Rob, has the week off because I am self-producing this show tonight. So pardon the train wreck.
Sounds really good.
Well, good. And we're going to take a break. Hopefully it continues. Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak live on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network, broadcasting in Louisville, Kentucky tonight for the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. The live event's about to get underway. One of the keeper leagues that the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship has is about to kick off here. We have the auction right after we sign off tonight, Dave, that you and I will be going against each other in. Of course, myself and Kurt will be teaming up against you and the real Leroy.
We're trying to get our budget straight and not overspend on quarterbacks. So that's been our problem the last couple of years. Accidentally.
You will be battling that tonight. Two-Packer is, of course, in this draft. Travis Cox, FFPC player, also in this draft.
I'm not allowing myself to bet on quarterbacks. I'm out. Only Leroy can only bet on quarterbacks.
It's easy to say that now. I don't know when the rubber meets the road if you're going to be capable of keeping that going.
Not going to do it.
So it's going to be a very exciting time this entire weekend, and we're kicking things off with the show tonight. Greg Sidoris will be on shortly, ladies and gentlemen, as we talk to him and pick his brain. I want to remind everybody that you can sign up for Draft Experts Leagues. Best Ball, Classics, Dynasty, all at myffpc.com. Football Guys Players Championships going on tonight and all weekend long. It is the second biggest weekend for the FFPC this weekend. Of course, Labor Day Draft-a-thon is next weekend, but get in while the getting's good now at myffpc.com, and plenty of main event spots available online. How many live spots do we have left in the main event? Less than 20?
And I think it's 21 now. It's
21. Okay.
Let me look. 4, 9. Yeah, 21 exactly live spots. That's it.
21 spots. So get in while you can.
And help us fill the leagues exactly so I don't have to do any messing around.
Yeah. Or screw Dave over. I'm totally cool with that.
Please don't do that. Please only join the spots that we have available.
Let's bring in tonight's guest here, ladies and gentlemen, because this dovetails into playing in the FFPC main event. He has been a licensed casino host for 20 years. He is the owner of Casino Connection USA, main vendor there. Caesars Entertainment owner-operator. He is also of the Cleveland Baseball Academy. For 25 years, he's been a baseball instructor and head coach of the Baseball Academy for all ages with a customer base of 10,000.
Wow, that's crazy.
National Championship, ASA, All-World Shortstop, 85, 93, 95, and 2000. He was also at the Las Vegas Superbook at the Las Vegas Hilton from 84 to 86, sportsbook ticket writer and supervisor, odds maker, researcher of all major sports, and he is the creator and originator of the first fantasy football contest held at the Las Vegas Hilton that was available for live wagers to the public in 1985. You can, of course, check out his work at hotroster.com. He's the current main handicapper for the live site, player matchup creator there as well. And he is our Casino Connection, our Las Vegas guru. This is the guy to see.
He's the man.
He is making his debut on the FFPC High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour tonight, Mr. Greg Sidoris. Greg, welcome into the show, man.
Wow, that was very impressive. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate the invitation.
Well, we're glad to have you tonight, and you alluded to this earlier. Today is the deadline if you want to get in with these insane room rates that you have provided to FFPC players at Planet Hollywood. Today's the deadline, and it was already a big day with a lot of people deciding to take advantage of this. Stay at Planet Hollywood for these low room rates and draft with the FFPC.
It's a great combination. I am so happy that we were able to work with Planet Hollywood and Caesars Entertainment in locking down a wonderful venue. The rooms are outstanding. Every room in that property has been completely renovated, very contemporary, very clean. The casino's outstanding. It's easy access to go from your room straight down the elevator, whether you're in the north elevator or the south elevator. It takes you right to the third floor mezzanine where the much anticipated Thursday night kickoff party is going to be, as well as the convention room where all of the live drafts are going to be. Very easy to get around in the property.
And don't forget about the Fantasyland live broadcast that leads right into the opening game viewing party, too, which is going to be a star-studded affair with industry analysts and high-stakes players. That is going to be a baller.
I didn't know about this. What's the deal?
Yeah, well, you'll find out about it when you're there. You weren't invited.
Why don't you tell the people?
Well,
I know it's fantasy stars and all these industry pros. So of course I'm not invited.
Yeah, we didn't make the cut. Rotoviz.com/podcast Fantasyland is where you can find that. They will be recording a live Fantasyland broadcast right before the viewing party.
Oh, not their overly edited stuff that they normally do?
No, it doesn't have to be, because this is going to be the creme de la creme. And the Planet Hollywood, get in while you can with these room rates with Greg Sidoris. Greg, what's your phone number? I know if people wanted to email you, they can do so at lvch777@AOL.com. But phone calls are always probably the quickest way to do it. What's your phone number for anybody who wants to reach you with these rates?
Especially at this time, 216-299-5390. That's 216-299-5390. That's my direct number. Also, I have a 855 VIP host. So if you couldn't write it down, 855 VIP host will get you directly into my line also. So those are two great ways. The deadline is this evening. If you give me a call and at least let me know that you guys are thinking about coming in, we still have rooms, and I'd be able to handle your account up through today, tomorrow. That way, if you're driving home and you don't think you're going to make it on time, give me a call. I'll hold a room for you, and we could do the small details over the next 24 hours.
Greg, one thing that people don't maybe know, but you kind of expressed this to me in an email before, but you can pretty much beat any rate. So if someone's a player and they're coming in, they've got some sort of coupon code or something like that, you can beat any rate pretty much out there, right?
That's very true. It's one of the ways that the hotel casino protects the reps like myself. So if you do, I work for, we have a department called National Casino Marketing that works for not only the hotel side, but the casino side. And it's a combination. So we have special rates that we hold for our valued players or for special guests or friends or family that I have that I can put through those rates. So if you go to Expedia or Hotwire or one of those third-party sites, you may believe you're getting a good rate, but that's not going to be the rate that we can certainly offer. And not only that, but you get customized service where if you have a change in your reservation or if you have a special request, that goes directly in your room folio that I put in there personally myself to make sure that you're getting great service. There's no fee for our service. This is just a service that we provide to make sure that the customer is in line with his very important reservation, which is typically part of his vacation, of course. So we take it very seriously, and we have a good system.
Greg, I'm kind of curious as how the company that you own, that you're the head of, how did it get hooked up? Why did you decide to get into the business with helping out these FFPC players?
Well, it was a combination of I moved out to Las Vegas in the early 80s when my family moved from Cleveland, Ohio. We went out there. I started working in the hotel casino industry, started up as a valet parker and moved my way up through the hotel chain and was very interested in casino marketing. At about the same time is when I got involved with meeting some of my casino friends that were already involved in the fantasy football, and they introduced it to me about 81, 82. So it was somewhat of a combination of my love for sports, and then I was a researcher, along with me being involved with casino marketing, that 25, 30 years down the road, would you know that you run into guys like Dave and Alex that have a fantastic company format tied in with what I do, get hotel rooms for people that are going to Las Vegas and other areas, but primarily Las Vegas. And it's almost like the peanut butter finding the chocolate, and the chocolate finding the peanut butter. You put them both together, and you have a great combination. So this wasn't something by accident. This is something that I've been doing on both ends, fantasy sports, primarily fantasy football for 35 years, and involved with the hotel casino industry for close to 30 years now.
Hey, real quick, I know you guys have 216 area code. I know you were in handicapping for a while. I used to call the 216 number for good old Phil Steele. Do you remember Phil Steele from back in the day? We've got about a minute to talk about it if you know him.
I do remember that name. The part of the difference between that type of service, even though I was and always been in handicapping, I was more or less on the other side where one of the companies I worked for years, we actually were the consensus company that made the lines for all the sports books. So the sports book managers, they tweak the numbers. I'm one of the guys that actually helped create the numbers. So that research,
exactly.
that goes
Right.
into that type of number is something that I have always done, and I still do.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely a good way to. Well, we're going to get into. We got to get to a break here. We will bring you back for more, Greg, because I want to get into what you did in Vegas more than 30 years ago that I know our listeners would care about, because you certainly are a pioneer. We have much more with Casino Connection host, Las Vegas host, Greg Sidoris here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak. We're going to come back right after this. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour rolls on here. I am Eric Balkman. He is Dave Gerzak. We are broadcasting live in Louisville, Kentucky at the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. A ton of stuff to get to tonight. Of course, the Ascendant announcement. But before we get to that, we have Greg Sidoris, our Casino Connection host for the FFPC out in Las Vegas. And Greg, this is an interesting fact that I think not a lot of people realize. But we're talking about 32 years ago, in 1985, you did something very unique in regards to fantasy football in Vegas that no one had ever done before. Talk a little bit about that.
I was working at the Las Vegas Hilton Superbook. We were the biggest book, and it's still probably the nicest book in Las Vegas, as we all witnessed that last year as the event was at the Westgate last year. I was working as a sports book ticket writer in fantasy football. One of my bosses, a good friend of mine by the name of Art Manteris. Art Manteris now runs the – Yes, sir.
Let me interrupt you quick. You're 32 years ago. Were you 15 years old? You're like a young-looking guy. How old are you, buddy? You're not 32 years ago. That's not even true.
Yeah.
Is it?
It could be.
Come on.
This is some fuzzy math.
I don't know if I buy this. All right. Go ahead. Anyway, go ahead. I don't believe it.
I take offense to that because I was doing that when I was 6. But
nice.
6 years
No, no kidding. You're 38. Nice.
I'm only 38. So the
you were a gambling prodigy. That's amazing.
Yes, I was. I had a real problem at a very young age, and I finally kicked the habit when I was about 21, thank God. So, but nonetheless, I was working at the sports book, and, it's funny because fantasy football back when, it was pretty basic. It was all touchdown leagues, and there was no PPR. There was barely any type of bonuses for players. So that's one of the things that we were sitting around going, how do we enhance this game, and how do we make it from a competitive level, adding more statistics, more scoring opportunities, multiple ways to score basically. So we came up with we came up with a game where we started adding you got 5 points for 100-yard rushing. And if you got 98 yards, you got 0. So we knew that didn't work, so we kept tweaking our rules. We came up with a very unique game that my boss, Art Manteris, said, let's give this a try. So, it was on like a parlay card format, and you had to get, I think, 3 or 4 of the possibilities correct to win, because we weren't allowed to do it head-to-head. You couldn't do it just like a straight bet. It was in the parlay format. $5, I believe, was the minimum. Up to $100 you could bet. But it was a state-of-the-art game that somewhat revolutionized the scoring system, because we started that scoring system with the incentives, and it just started to catch on, and then it started to grow into passing yardage, and it started to grow into defensive touchdowns. Defensive touchdowns were always there, but primarily all the leagues were geared really towards running backs. Once the PPR started, then you started seeing the receivers going. I don't think in the first 10 years that I was doing drafts I ever saw a receiver go in the first round, and maybe Jerry Rice. And back then, if you had a connection, that was the big thing. If you had a good running back and you had the good connection, if you had Rice in Montana or whoever else was QBing back then you were in the money, because some of the scoring systems were a little bit off. And it took a lot of years for it to become equalized, so one category wasn't weighed too much. So there was a lot of trial and error. There was, of course, a lot of happy and a lot of arguments.
Well, I don't know.
Look, there's been studies done, Balky, that we have perfected the scoring format. FFPC. It was Stanford, MIT, and Caltech is in the middle of one right now. It's not quite done.
Yeah, the Sorbonne actually did something too.
But the Europeans, I don't trust those people.
Greg Sidoris, our Casino Connection host, is our guest tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour as we broadcast live from the KFFSC. Not to go back from football here, Greg, but
let's relive it.
Let's talk about baseball for a second. Did you obviously own the Cleveland Baseball Academy, 10,000 customers there. You do a great job there with a lot of coaching and teaching there. What's your experience? Did you ever play pro ball, or how did your baseball career go with the accolades that you've earned?
Well, I all the way through, having brothers in a great neighborhood, we played ball every day outside. So it was, there was no button pushing going on in my living room as far as any type of action inside. It was all outside. Just played, a lot of our fields were short, small. The ball was hard and fast, so it made us pretty quick. So I turned into a shortstop. Played really well shortstop in high school. I went out to Scottsdale Community College, played ball out there for a guy by the name of Fred Nelson, and did a little bit of when Major League Baseball went on strike a few years ago. They had replacement players. I did some of that, and then I played high-level softball for 20 years, where we traveled all around the country, played on a team called the Las Vegas Aces, played for a championship team called Pepco out of Cleveland. We just were a fantastic defensive team, good hitting, and once again, it's like anything else. The more you play, the more you got better. But when I started teaching baseball as a profession, and I was still playing at the time, it was amazing how sharp my skills became because I was teaching pretty much forensically. I would really ingrain it. Pretty easy to understand is how we taught it, of course, because you're working with youngsters that don't understand the word rotation, breaking down the words so they understand it. We made it fun, and we did very, very well. We had an indoor baseball facility called the Lost Nation Sports Park. It was an 80,000 square foot facility that I helped build with batting cages, basketball courts, soccer. So we had an indoor facility in Cleveland because you certainly needed it from November through April 1st. And then once the weather broke, we were outside. I had about 10 teams, trained them all winter long, and did private lessons, sort of a throwing specialist. I still have some of the top pitchers in the area that I work with their throwing. Or actually, what I did more than anything else? I worked with pitchers that didn't know how to throw, that just didn't have the talent, where they had a hard time learning it. So I got a lot of specialty calls for that.
Well, this completes the bulky section of the show where we actually get to talk baseball, which I always enjoy. Dave is just fingernails on the chalkboard whenever we bring baseball up on the show.
Were you guys talking?
Exactly. Greg Sidoris, Casino Connection FFPC host, who will be able to hook you up with a fantastic roommate if you get in contact with him today. LVCH777 at AOL.com. Could be a great roommate. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Say the email. I'm sorry.
Greg, I want to get into some, because you've commissioned leagues for 30-plus years. You're a hardcore fantasy football player. I'm curious just to get your insight on this year. Ezekiel Elliott has been in the news with his suspension. If you were drafting in your leagues, and I don't know if you've drafted already or if you're going to be drafting, where are you looking at taking Elliott with his 6-game suspension?
And, it's and some of the news that just came out this afternoon, I think, is a little interesting with that, where they wanted to bring in some different the NFLPA didn't, and Ezekiel Elliott didn't fare very well this afternoon. So with the assumption that he's going to get suspended for 6 games, let's just play that, because on September 1st, we're all going to pretty much know what's going on. But today, seeing it's a week before that, I'm thinking that if he's there in the 3rd round, I'm probably going to take him. And the reason I say that is I take a look at the running backs that are in that 2nd or 3rd tier. Would I rather have Tevin Coleman or Ezekiel Elliott, Mark Ingram, Ty Montgomery? Those are guys it's really a really tough call. It certainly depends on who I'm going to grab in the 1st or 2nd round, but right. I think he's going to go myself, probably in the third round, that's where I might take a risk and go hope that he gets his 6 to 8 touchdowns in the 8 weeks that he's going to play. Because there's a bye week in that 6 weeks, so he's going to miss at least 7 weeks. So he's coming back in week number 8, you got to figure. But I'm looking maybe third round, I'm thinking, in a
Greg,
10 or 12.
10 or 12 team league, yeah. I think that there's plenty of people that have come to that conclusion that they are going to take the 2 studs that are going to be ready right away and then go with Elliott in the third as sort of a wild card and see what they can get. One of the things we always like to ask our guests, Greg, and we have roughly a minute here for you to give us a sleeper and a bust, a guy that you're targeting later on in drafts and a guy that you are staying away from for sure in the early rounds of your fantasy leagues this year.
Well, if I could find that Larry Kinnebrew type of guy that used to get 3 yards with 3 carries and 30 points because he jam in 3 one-yard touchdowns. I don't see too much of that going. I do like Paul Perkins. I'm really high on Gordon. I think one of my sleeper stashes in the last round could be Josh Gordon of the Cleveland Browns, who might get reinstated in September, even though he hasn't touched a football, caught a meaningful pass in a couple of years. The Browns need a receiver. They're going to be losing a lot of games. That would be a stash, I'm thinking. I think that's my biggest sleeper. If I take a look at, you take a look at one of the Dallas running backs, whether it's, I do like Rex Burkhead. I mean, if you can get the New England running backs, the main guys touching the ball 60% of the time. The 2 running backs that New England picked up this year, they're both very solid in short yardage. They're both in the 85% success rate on the field when they're touching the ball to get that 1 or 2 yards. So I'm definitely targeting Jalisi or Burkhead, and I'm not sure which one I'm going with yet there, but one of those 2 guys I really liked also.
Okay, so the Gillislee and Burkhead picks have been extremely popular over the last couple of weeks on the show. I want to get to your bust, but we got to take a quick break. When we come back, Greg Sidoris gives us his early round bust here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak, live in Louisville here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour broadcasting live this week from the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship live events here in Louisville, Kentucky. I am Eric Balkman. He is Dave Gerzak. We are joined by Greg Sidoris, our FFPC Casino Connection host. Today is the last day. If you want to get in touch with him, make sure that you are doing so you get this baller rate that we have at Planet Hollywood, and you can save your money for other stuff in Vegas. Lord knows there's different ways to spend it rather than pay for a jacked-up room. Greg, we heard about your sleepers before. You like Paul Perkins. Gillislee, Burkhead. What's a bust that you are staying away from in the early rounds this year?
I'm definitely staying away for, and this is based not only on my fact that I don't think they have a very good team or quarterback, but Todd Gurley does nothing for me again. He totally, I just don't see how they move the ball. Goff, I'm surprised, certainly if they didn't take him as such a high draft pick, I would think he's close to being benched. Jay Ajayi, I think, has a lot of upside because they don't have a lot of running back help over there, with Damian Williams or whoever they've got. But I'm not really high on Jay Ajayi, especially with the quarterback situation. They could be losing a lot of ball games playing from behind, and I certainly don't like taking running backs from teams that are losing in the third and fourth quarter. So Jay Ajayi I'm not high on. And I'm not really that high on LaShawn McCoy this year. Got to be quite honest with you. I like him. Fantastic player. Yes, the OC loves to utilize one guy, but I'm not seeing it for LaShawn McCoy this year. I do like Marlon Mack. Indianapolis rides their running back heavy, and if Gore makes it through the season, I'd be very, very surprised if he misses 8 games. I see something like that as opposed to him getting banged up early on and Marlon Mack carrying the load. So I sort of like Marlon Mack also.
Marlon Mack, a good sleeper, a guy that I was really impressed with in the last preseason game. But Greg Sidoris, a guy who's been around the game, been playing fantasy football for well over 3 decades. Be wary of LaShawn McCoy. Be wary of Jay Ajayi. I think that's good advice. Greg, it has been a pleasure having you on the show tonight. We will look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas. And for anybody who wants to get in, deadline day today on these fantastic room rates we have at Planet Hollywood, LVCH77 at 777 at AOL.com. Give us the phone number one more time for anybody to be able to hit you up.
Okay, you can call me at 1-855-VIP-HOST. That's 855-VIP-HOST. Or call me directly tonight on my cell phone, 216-299-5390, or at LVCH777 at AOL.com. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. Can't wait to see you all.
Certainly.
Thanks.
Yeah, awesome
soon.
Stuff, Greg. We will definitely see you soon. Thanks so much for joining the show tonight, Greg Sidoris. Of course, Casino Connection USA, reserved for Greg Sidoris. One of our favorite phrases here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour joins us tonight. Really cool to hear what he did out in Vegas in the mid-'80s as far as fantasy football is concerned at the old Las Vegas Hilton, and a wealth of experience. Lived in Vegas for well over a decade. Certainly has worked at seemingly every single level you could in Las Vegas. He knows how to take care of you, and he will be doing that for FFPC players this year. So certainly great stuff to be joined by him tonight. There was a football game last night, Dave.
No kidding.
A very exciting one. Because we are in the third week of preseason. This is the quote-unquote dress rehearsal for NFL teams, and it was an interesting one for a lot of players who are going to see their ADP move this weekend.
Tell us about it, Eric.
I want to kick things off and talk about your boy, Christian McCaffrey. 7 carries for 21 yards.
Did he get hurt?
Nope.
Oh, that's all I care about.
Caught 1 pass for 12 yards in the Panthers preseason game. They caught that pass from Cam Newton. Jonathan Stewart had already had 2 carries before McCaffrey had joined the offense on the field, and they rotated fairly evenly throughout the game when the first stringers were in there. Christian McCaffrey going in the third round of drafts right now. You look at he's getting to that level, Dave, where you're kind of drafting him based on his ceiling, and I feel like in Kentucky this weekend he's going at the 307. In FFPC drafts, but in Kentucky this weekend, are you prepared to pay a mid-third round pick for McCaffrey, your boy?
I think he's going to fall a little bit further than that in Kentucky because they prioritize the wide receivers so much, although the tight end's much lesser. Yes, I am willing to do that. And I think that when you say what his ceiling is I think you might not be really realizing what his ceiling could be. I think it's higher than you.
Okay, let me ask you this. Christian McCaffrey hits his ceiling this year, okay, whatever that is.
Okay.
Where does he finish among running backs if he hits his ceiling?
Top 4.
Wow. And you know what? It's hard for me to disagree with that.
I mean, his ceiling. I mean, what is this? How many catches could that be? 80.
80. Yeah.
It could be 80 catches. And how many he's so elusive in the open field. How many receiving touchdowns could that be? That could be
9.
6 or 7, 8, 9 would be optimistic.
Ceiling.
Yeah, and so and then he could average 7 to 10 yards. He could average 10 yards a catch. I mean, that's getting optimistic. He's going to have carries. Jonathan Stewart, by the way, has not been the modicum of health. He gets hurt all the time.
Yep.
Maybe not quite last year, but other years. So, I think he can run between the tackles. He's not probably quite as good as Stewart at goal line or as good as Cam at goal line. So he might get vultured there. But, he's I think he's a special player. People, and this is not me, but people on NFL Network and other, major companies like ESPN.
The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour.
They compare him to other, elite talents like Falk and LT. I mean, he's being mentioned among them. I mean, that's a pretty. I'm not doing that, but I'm going to. I'm going to give them that opportunity to do that. So it's impressive.
I think it was the ESPN Fantasy Focus podcast that I was listening this week. And they made an interesting point that Carolina seems dead set on still having Stewart be a valuable part of this game plan. However, what happens when Stewart goes down and McCaffrey really flashes? Then how do you keep that off the field? How do you keep McCaffrey from not taking over that backfield if he is as talented as we believe he is? That's tough to do.
This reminds me actually of the year that Adrian Peterson was a rookie. Who's the running back that was ahead of him? I forgot his name.
Chester Taylor?
Yeah, Chester Taylor, exactly.
Yeah.
He was the starter and the incumbent, and he was a much better, more competent player than
had
Jonathan
2 or 3
Stewart.
great seasons behind him.
Absolutely. So Taylor was the starter, and everyone knew AP was awesome. He came in top 10 pick, 7 overall. And I think that first game, AP didn't get a ton of carries. He caught a pass, and it was a 60-yard touchdown pass. He just took it to the house. And I remember getting him in World Championship of Fantasy Football in the 4th round, and I was giddy. I was like, oh my, thank God he made it to me.
Right, yeah.
And
that's when rookie hype began. You started it.
No, I mean, but the thing is, it's not been, not all rookies, I'm not that excited about all rookie players. Leonard Fournette, I'm not excited about Leonard Fournette.
Right.
I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a great rookie season. I think Mixon actually is going to do pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think that McCaffrey to me is that player for me. He's the AP for this year. Granted, a totally different body type, totally different player, but really someone who can just become elite.
Provides elite fantasy skills out there. Let's talk about another young running back, Wendell Smallwood, 4 carries for 28 yards in the Eagles' third preseason game. He only played on third down on the first drive, but he was the feature back for most of the rest of the time that Philly's ones were on the field. Wendell Smallwood screwed up a blitz pickup on the second drive from Lawrence Timmons from the Dolphins linebacker. Sproles, not really been playing so much this season, and obviously once the regular season hits, he will be much more involved. Smallwood and Blount would be the head guys in that offense, you would imagine.
So Blount makes the team.
Assuming he makes the team. So what are you doing with Wendell Smallwood? I mean, this is a guy that you can get pretty late in drafts, and he could pay off pretty big.
He's definitely worth a shot. Why not take a chance on him? And he'll move up a little bit, but he won't move up a ton.
No reason if you draft Sproles in the 12th to take Smallwood late, correct? That's how I view it.
You say no reason?
There's no reason.
Why?
Because I think that they represent totally different.
But that doesn't necessarily mean. I think they're kind of independent of one another.
Yeah, and if Sproles gets hurt, I don't see Smallwood all of a sudden being like an every down type guy.
Well, why not? I mean, who else is going to take? Pumphrey?
Well, there's Pumphrey there for sure. And
I'm just saying.
Do you think? Give me a percentage chance right now of LeGarrette Blount making this team?
I would say like 80, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm not 75.
I'm not a GM.
No, you're not. One of these days, Dave.
Hey man, there's a lot of suckier teams that I could run teams better than at least 30% of the NFL. I'm not going to say more than that, but if you give me 70, 80 hours a week and a staff of Harvard-educated type people or MIT, whatever,
right?
Yes.
Then you could get it done.
Absolutely. I don't know how to manage stuff. I mean, people are idiots.
Well, I'll tell you,
they can't manage their payroll. They can't manage their draft picks.
One of the ways that the Eagles are managing their payroll this year is signing Alshon Jeffrey, who caught 2.
Jeffries?
Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey.
Only we know how to pronounce Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah.
His last name.
2 catches.
Not Jeffries, you morons.
2 catches for 35 yards. Caught both of his targets. Did catch a touchdown as well. So you look at Alshon Jeffrey, and this is a guy that we have not talked on the show throughout the draft season, and I think that's by design because I don't think you or I is particularly loving up Alshon Jeffrey this year on a 1-year prove-it deal in Philly.
If he falls enough in drafts, I'd be willing to take him. Jordan Matthews is gone. There's not a lot of really receiving options.
Right.
Hurts is there, of course.
402 in FFPC drafts right now.
It's not terribly bad, really, for a player that's been a WR1 with an ascendant type quarterback.
Right.
Not ascendant like in our perspective.
Right.
I think if you have faith that he's going to be healthy, then go for it. Why not?
I'll tell you guys that are going after Alshon Jeffrey that I would rather take in FFPC drafts right now. Jimmy Graham I'd rather have. Tyreek Hill I'd rather have. Golden Tate I'd rather have. I would consider Michael Crabtree there. Probably not Jarvis Landry. Devontae Adams I'd probably rather have.
I think I would take Jeffrey over Tate, and I think I would take him over Adams too.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a lot of heat on Devontae Adams right now, Dave. A lot of heat.
Good for them. I'm glad.
Okay.
I don't mind him. I mean, he's fine. I'm just saying he's the number 1 receiver for the team versus Rodgers, number 2-ish.
Right. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this guy because I think he's going to come up in the ascending conversation, but just a recap of what he did last night. Devontae Parker, 2 catches, 78 yards, including a touchdown, a 72-yard touchdown. Now Jay Cutler throwing to Devontae Parker. 3 different catches, gains of 16, 31, and 72. The 31-yarder was not counted because it was negated by a penalty. But Devontae Parker, a fantastic play last night in the 72-yard touchdown. Jay Cutler says he is like a faster Alshon Jeffrey, so you look at what he has been able to bring to the table here, and Devontae Parker is certainly looking good, Dave, and I think this is a guy, even for if we don't even name him the Ascendant this year, this is a guy that could really, really shoot up boards on Kentucky weekend.
I think you're totally right. I'm starting to fall for Devontae Parker a lot more than I used to.
Yeah.
I have him in a couple dynasty leagues, and I've been really disappointed with him. But, his skill set is finally coming out, and I think Cutler is that perfect quarterback to throw to him.
Yeah, and I think that really helps his value, hurts Landry's value. We talked about this on the show before. We have to sort of wrap up our number 1 here. So we are going to take our final break of the first hour. When we come back, much more here live from the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. This is the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour with Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Live in Louisville is how we are doing the show this week. This is the HSFF Hour here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. I am at Eric Balkman on Twitter. He is at David Gerzak on Twitter, broadcasting live here with the Kentucky auction around the corner. We have the main event, Draft Masters, the I Want Vegas League, plenty of other main event drafts coming up this weekend. It is going to be a drafting bonanza, but before we get to that, we do want to recap that Dolphins-Eagles game from last night. And the last thing I want to bring up, as of course the mascot of the show, Two-Packer, bringing us some liquid refreshments. I have no idea what's in here. I'm assuming just Coke. No other spirits in there.
Yours is really dark, so yeah, yours is just
good,
regular.
Perfect. Oh, great. Yeah, that Two-Packer almost doubled over after he took a pull from mine, so I'm not going to touch that. Took a pull from
That's
him.
not a regional term at all.
Jay Ajayi took 9 pulls from the backfield last night, 9 carries, 53 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the Dolphins game last night. 2 tackle-breaking chunk gains with the first-team offense and 2 short touchdowns, one set up by a 72-yard Devontae Parker catch, and then Dolphins coming up with an interception deep in the red zone, and Ajayi comes out. He looks good last night. He's over that concussion, it seems like, Dave. You're looking at him in the mid-second round in this weekend in Kentucky right now in the FFPC. He is going at the 206 as well. I might be on board with Jay Ajayi in 2017.
You know, there's a lot of other players I kind of like in that area, but, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I mean, when you look at Cutler coming in just off the street, but he's functionally immediately better than Tannehill. So I look at the offense, I look at the offense.
I took a drink from the Two-Packer. Oh, I don't know what it is. It's like I'm drinking like liquid drunkenness.
Oh,
I don't even taste any soft drink in there. It's all hard drink. Anyway, continue with your point on Jay Ajayi.
See, mine's rum. It's quite tasty.
Yeah.
The rum is smooth, bulky. You know, you don't have to be macho.
It's what the Pirates drink, which is why I usually stay away from it.
I like Pirates.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you do.
I mean, I don't like the modern Somali pirates. I like the more classical pirates from the golden age of piracy.
Yeah. Blackbeard. Redbeard.
The others.
Bluebeard. The other beards. Yeah.
The Buccaneers. The Privateers. There's all sorts of different pirates out there. Anyway.
Take a receiver in the first round. Jay Ajayi is a good way to spend a second-round pick.
I agree. You know, when you have Cutler, I think the offense is going to be a lot better. I think he's going to score more touchdowns.
I didn't really watch the game last night, but we talk about what the Dolphins showed, and I think it's important to understand you don't want to overvalue it, even though it was the third preseason game. But, man, Jay Ajayi looked good and Devontae Parker looked good. Now, regardless of how you feel about them, you have to understand that these guys will be moving up draft boards this weekend. Do not overdraft them based on this performance. If you're a believer in them for the regular season, then go ahead and grab them. Go get your guys, Dave. Get your guys.
Actually, you should.
But don't do it. Don't ruin your draft for it.
If you really want Devontae Parker, now you should not only overdraft him, but overdraft him. Get in front of the other people who are taking your sleeper. So I'm going to say the exact opposite.
Okay, interesting.
I'm saying if you really want Parker, though, and you think, his ADP, where's his ADP?
703 in FFPC.
703. Oh, if you're like, I have, let's say you have the 606 or whatever, and then you have a mid-7th round.
Take him in the 5th.
Take him in the 6th. Or, I mean, honestly, don't
take him in the 2nd. Don't let anybody screw you over.
He's not going to fall to you.
No, he probably won't. Not at that point. And so we're, despite the Tannehill injury, despite the Dolphins sort of having to change their offense around to fit Jay Cutler, we're liking Ajayi. We're liking Devontae Parker, and I don't know how many shares of Jarvis Landry you and I are going to have this weekend, but I bet it's very little.
Yeah, and I don't really own Landry in any dynasty leagues, so that's just fine with me.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to wrap up our first hour here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, but when we come back, we're going to have hour number 2. It is going to be live right here in Louisville, Kentucky for the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. We have the auction coming up tonight. The Keeper League is going on in full effect right now, that draft going on, and we have a slew of drafts going on this weekend. We're also going to name our Ascendant in the second hour, and we're going to answer a ton of your emails coming up here. We have plenty of those to read, and we'll get to much more here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Great stuff from Greg Sidoris in the first hour. I'm sure we'll touch on that as we get to hour number 2. And we have a slew. We have 10 finalists for the Ascendant. Dave and I, like we did last year, we have not decided on who it's going to be. So it's going to be fun radio coming up in hour number 2. We do have to pause 10 seconds to identify ourselves here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak, much more coming up right after this. Hour number 2 kicks off here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. He is Dave Gerzak at David Gerzak on Twitter. I am at Eric Balkman at Eric Balkman on Twitter. I'm actually not at Eric Balkman. I'm Eric Balkman.
Now, Balky, I don't know if this is going to sound racist, but is that Ray Chung over there?
Yes, there's Ray Chung.
Oh, Ray Chung, see?
Ray Chung, of course,
No,
the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship, bringing people in from Hong Kong.
I'm not profiling or anything.
No, you're not. No, but this is him. This is great stuff. We're meeting. I'm sorry. Thank you. We're meeting Ray live in real life here. I've talked to him so many times online, but he is on the show tonight.
Farrell's taking pictures.
Farrell's taking pictures of Ray.
What are you giving him, like a placard or something?
He gets a plaque. Listen, you fly across an ocean to come to the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. You get a placard. That's
nice.
just the rules.
Very
nice.
I'm not holding up that
What
crap.
is this? Well, let me see. Do you want me to hold it? I'm holding this up. I don't even know what it says. So it could say, like...
I'm a dork.
Eric Balkman, the worst.
So is Ray going to come on?
Ray, do you want to come on for a segment? You want to join us for a segment? Help us answer some emails?
I'll scoot over.
Yeah, scoot over there. You always are way far away from the microphone anyway. So Ray, you can kind of sit right in the middle. It doesn't matter because we're not using any production drops. So you can keep the headphones. Ray, man, welcome into the show.
Thanks, Eric.
Long time listener,
yeah.
and now you're joining us on the show. So, are you pumped for your first weekend of Kentucky drafting?
Yeah, definitely. It's like our home leagues in Hong Kong and in New York, they're much smaller than this. This is a huge ballroom, right?
Yeah, this is a pretty massive ballroom here. Like this is, and it's not this. Yeah, and this is actually it's not very full right now, but Saturday it's going to be packed. Sunday it'll be shoulder to shoulder, nuts to butts, as the kids say in here, and it'll be a great drafting weekend. What do you have on tap? You got the main event tonight.
Right, 8:30.
8:30 tonight is the main event. What else do you have planned for this weekend?
We got 2 drafts tomorrow. That's a 3:30. Is that the Draft Master?
3:30 would be the Draft Masters,
right.
I believe. Yeah.
And then another one, 7:30 maybe.
Oh, main event. Main event tomorrow. Yeah. So that'll be very cool.
Sunday as well.
And Sunday main event. Yeah.
Whatever Farrell's stuck him in.
And whatever you find, you come in here and you find your name, and then you just sort of draft a team. Is the way it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's very cool. We talked about our ascendant that we're naming at the end of the show tonight. Devontae Parker, certainly going to be a consideration there. Are you liking what you saw from Parker in the preseason now that Jay Cutler's throwing to him?
I think Cutler's looking for him. They definitely got a rapport together. But in Kentucky, since he's a hometown boy here, I'm not looking to draft him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he plays college ball at Louisville. I forgot about that. Because
he's going like the 3rd round here.
SHIT could go bananas this weekend. I'm just realizing that right now. And hold on, just to bring this up too. We always talk about the Colts being overvalued here because there's so many Colts fans here. Maybe this year it's like, oh my God, Luck's hurt. I don't want to have anything to do with. Hey, Devontae Parker, Louisville guy. Let's take him.
What about Taiwan Taylor?
And where Western Kentucky? Is that where he went?
Right?
Yeah, that's another guy.
Yeah.
Man, 7th round.
Throwing him out.
Yeah, just start the bidding on Taiwan Taylor at $8 tonight and see where that gets you. Okay.
I can't even pronounce anything.
Taiwan?
You said it right.
Ray, what is it? Taiwan or Taiwan Taylor? How do you pronounce it?
Taiwan.
Okay, Taiwan. Raise the guest.
Obviously,
We're going with Taiwan.
Obviously.
Okay, fantastic. Well, listen, this has been a fantastic kickoff to hour number 2. Ray, you're going to stay right here. We're going to answer some emails when we come back. We have Dave Gerzak. We have Ray Chung. Ray, what's your Twitter? What's your Twitter name?
Chung Nose.
Chung Nose, at Chung Nose on Twitter. Follow him. Great stuff there. Much more live at the High Stakes Fantasy Football or Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship main event. Eric Balkman, Ray Chung, Dave Gerzak. Coming up more right after this. I am Eric Balkman. He is Dave Gerzak, joined by Ray Chung at Chung Knows on Twitter. What's so funny? High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Are you talking about the breaks? The break is bizarre. Right. The break is bizarre if you're doing it live. It's very awkward, and Dave and I still have not gotten used to it. Well, I've gotten used to it because I'm a professional. Dave just sort of fakes it every week on the show. But it's always awkward. Let's just fix the awkwardness. Let's get into some emails here and try to help people out. So something we have not yet to do in 7 years on this show. We're going to try to help people out tonight. Yes, especially tonight. Ryan in Allen, Texas leads it off. All I'm hearing about is all the busts and injuries in Seattle. Is there anyone worth targeting on the Hawks this season? Thanks, FFPC guys. That is Ryan in Allen, Texas. It's interesting in Seattle this year. You have seemingly a different guy every single week being anointed the starter for the running back position. C.J. Prosise, who I know you're a fan of, Ray, as the pass catching back. Eddie Lacy, who I loved every year of his career. This year, maybe not so much. He's kind of the starter right now because Rawls and Prosise are missing the third preseason game. And then you have Chris Carson, who has, shocked the world at what he's been able to do. How are you treating this position? Let's talk about running backs first before we get to the receivers. How are you treating this position in drafts right now, Ray?
The running back position?
The running backs for Seattle.
For Seattle, well, you have to look at their line, right? So Fant went down, and they traded for that guy on the Eagles.
Yeah, they got the Eagles lineman because Fant he tore his ACL, so he's out for the year, and he was going to be their left tackle. I want to say, is that what it was? Yeah. So they're already making a change on the line, which was not good to begin with.
Yeah, but Cable works his wonders. But
right.
You have to think it's somewhere along, not at the beginning of the season, but near the end. So you have to see.
Right.
The emphasis on Russell Wilson. I think he's healthier this year. Okay, he's going to be running around. Prosise, when healthy, I think benefits the most out of it, and that opens up the passing game. So, in Seattle, do you just take the cheapest guy in Carson? But is he going to get all those touches? So it's going to be hard to start these guys, right?
Yeah,
in a best ball, it's going to be a lot easier.
Right. Yeah. So I think that, and you look at the receiver, it's kind of muddy a little bit. I mean, you look at Doug Baldwin as really like the main guy right there, but you have to invest a pretty high pick in getting him. And you look at where he's going in FFPC drafts right now. Baldwin is like second or third round, and he's going ahead of guys like Brandon Cooks, Demaryius Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, guys who have a pretty proven track record. Not that Baldwin doesn't, because he's gotten better every single year. And you look at Russell Wilson, is going to be healthier now. Jimmy Graham, there's a lot of people on him this year, myself included. Baldwin is a guy that I like, but Ray, I don't know if I can pay that kind of price for him right now.
Yeah, it's difficult, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation. We'll see what happens with Seattle this weekend, but I think, to borrow words from the great Walter White, tread lightly when you're drafting Seahawks skill position players. Let's go to the next email here. Greetings and salutations, gentlemen. With Bruce Arians' disappointment in John Brown, is Jerron Brown now a sneaky play in FFPC drafts? That is Jeff in Paul Smith's New York. That's probably a population of like 6. Jerron Brown going at the 1804 in drafts right now. Dave, do you have any interest in Jerron Brown right now? I mean, for me, it's just like a flyer late if I need a receiver, but I'm not holding my breath on him right now.
Not really. I'm only can count on Fitz on that team.
Yeah. What about you, Ray?
Kimmer likes him, though.
Kimmer likes Jerron Brown? Or Fitz?
I've been looking at that.
Jerron. Oh, Jerron Brown, really?
Yeah,
okay.
I prefer J.J. Nelson.
Now all of a sudden I like Jerron Brown.
Right?
Yeah. It's like once I see somebody that's much more intelligent than me, all of a sudden I'm on him. Why do you like J.J. Nelson better?
I think he has that deep ball mentality. Palmer's a gunslinger. He's definitely going to – and I think they might be behind. Their schedule is kind of tough, when you look at it. Okay? God forbid David Johnson goes down, someone's got to benefit, and I don't think it's going to be Chris Johnson.
No,
right?
no. I mean, just that ship has sailed.
Is it going to be, Jermaine Gresham? I don't think so. So they're just going to keep trucking it.
You might have more catches than Jermaine Gresham does this year.
He's underrated, though.
It's just, yeah, well, I mean, he's been underrated for forever. And maybe when you're underrated for forever, that's just your proper rating. Nobody listens to this show besides really smart people like you, Ray. And I feel like we've been underrated for forever. I think that's just our rating right now is how we have this. I'll tell you what, let's get to another email here, as I think we answered that one. I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about Jerron freaking Brown. Ron and
good broadcast.
Oh, thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. Ron in Charleston, South Carolina. Does Eric Swope's knee injury have you targeting Jack Doyle higher than you were before? Have fun in Kentucky. We will. That is Ron in Charleston, South Carolina. Jack Doyle going at the 904 pre-Swope injury, this knee injury that is knee surgery that Swope's having. And this is a guy that, too, like, you look at the Colts offense, Ray, I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm down on it. With Andrew Luck, I mean, with the Scott Tolzien-led Colts offense.
Yeah, you have to consider that as a possibility.
What about
Luck has not practiced yet.
Okay, so is there something to be said for a Tolzien offense, a Tolzien-led offense, but maybe with Moncrief not totally healthy with that AC joint in the shoulder?
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you look at Doyle, he might be the most – Hilton's the most reliable guy. But then you look at Doyle as that second option. That's interesting.
I like Doyle, actually.
And he to shift focus to FFPC.
Okay.
Tight end premium format. How many shares have you drafted, or do you have of Doyle this year so far?
I drafted about 35 teams, I think you got to have him at least like on 3 or 4 teams.
Yeah.
Not too many, but he actually goes pretty high.
Yeah, it's surprising. Because he is not, as Dave and I like to say, not pedigreed,
Right.
okay? Just kind of seemingly came out of nowhere last year. And everybody, as far as commissioning all these drafts, I've seen a lot of high-stakes players than being on Doyle in the 9th or 10th. They're on Swope much, much later. Now, that's going to change because of this knee surgery now. But I think that if you're drafting this weekend, Doyle's kind of a sneaky guy that you can look to maybe early in the season. I don't know what Tolzien's like as far as who he likes to throw to, if he counts on the tight end that much. But if he does, that makes Doyle that much more valuable when you have that safety blanket. Because, it's not like Tolzien's a rookie, but he certainly doesn't have the talent level that Andrew Luck does.
But he's from Western Kentucky, is he?
Which, Tolzien?
No.
Doyle?
Yeah.
He might be. I don't know. I have no idea. If he is, I have to reevaluate my rankings for this weekend because he's going to be going way higher than I thought. So that is definitely interesting as well. Let's see. I'm just going into the chat room right now, and we have a question from Jay Berg, of course, at JBNY on Twitter. Kenny Stills or Taylor Gabriel? Now, he just drafted Gabriel over Stills. He hopes to get the other guy in the next round. Feels like Kenny Stills will still be there. But if you're looking in a DE format between those two, Taylor Gabriel on the Falcons, Kenny Stills on the Dolphins, Ray, which one are you more likely to draft first between those two?
I like Kenny Stills.
Why do you like Stills? Okay, so let's just break this down, though. You have Devontae Parker there. You have Jarvis Landry still there. Leonte Carew expected to make a leap from year 1 to year 2. You still have the concentration of Jay Ajayi and the fact that the Dolphins want to run the ball. What about Stills attracts you to him this year from a fantasy perspective?
Okay, remember earlier in the preseason, everybody thought Stills where would he go, right? But then Miami surprised kind of everyone by re-signing him, so they definitely have some kind of plan to keep him.
Myself included, because you and I were in that Kentucky Dynasty draft, and I'm like, Stills, this is a great pick right now because he's going to sign somewhere for a huge amount of money, and he did, but he didn't go anywhere.
He's still really young, too.
Yeah, that's true. He's very young he's young for his age. He's young for as many years of service he's had in the NFL. Dave, where do you fall in on Kenny Stills versus Taylor Gabriel? If you're drafting in a 28-round DE, which guy are you more likely to take first?
I'm really not interested in Gabriel at all. Stills I'll take a look at.
Yeah. So Stills seems to be the popular choice here. I guess I would side with the two guys to my left, your right, who are much more intelligent than me when it comes to fantasy football. So I will go Stills. Although I do like Gabriel this year too, even though Dave doesn't. I kind of like Gabriel. Let's get to the next email here, and we go to, where's it going to be? Don in New Britain, Connecticut. Does no Jordan Matthews in Philly mean Zach Ertz is in for a career year? Zach Ertz going at the 6:01 right now. We talked about Zach Ertz very briefly on the drive down from northeast Wisconsin down to Louisville here today, and I liked him. Two Packers.
Special thanks to Leroy Corson.
Oh, yeah, the real Leroy. It was a great job, did a great job of driving today all the way down, all 8 hours of it.
Off like 3 people.
It was more than 3, but that's polite that you would say that on the air. I like Zach Ertz this year. This is a guy that has caught 70-plus catches his last 2 years in the NFL. 70-plus last year, catching from a rookie quarterback in Carson Wentz. And two Packers not on him. Ray, I like Zach Ertz this year.
I think the key with Zach Ertz, he really his key is week 14 and 15. And then you got to get someone else for week 16.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And
that's been the pattern.
Right.
You draft him, you're totally pissed off at yourself all season until that first week of the championship sprint hits, and he's money, and then that last week inevitably lets you down.
Like the opposite of Julio.
Right. He's the anti-Julio.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the anti-Julio, essentially, is what it is.
But you have it both on the same team, that might work out.
Yeah. Now there's your stack. There's your NFC stack: Julio Jones and Zach Ertz. And you will get stuff done. We are getting stuff done here live in Louisville at the Horseshoe Casino. The auction draft getting scheduled to be underway in roughly, about an hour or so, and we will be signing off shortly, but not before we announce the Ascendant. We're going to have more emails, more Ray Chung, probably less Dave Gerzak to appease all the people that are reviewing the podcast and make sure that we are getting as little Gerzak on as possible. I'm just kidding. We have much more here at the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. I am Eric Balkman. He is Dave Gerzak. Our guest tonight, Ray Chung, joining us. Very excited to have him on, and we're going to answer more of your emails coming up right after this. You are listening to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. We roll on here in Louisville, Kentucky at the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship live events, the 16th year that this has taken place. We've been here for roughly half of them, Dave.
We have no idea.
We have no idea.
We established earlier, we don't even know.
We have roughly a good idea. I remember.
Farrell for his record.
You know what?
God knows he has no idea.
Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak, joined by Ray Chung tonight. Dave, I remember.
My breath is okay because I'm talking through Ray.
Oh, dude, mine is terrible. Like, Ray is just being such a champ tonight, putting up with it. Yeah, it's awful. I blame Two-Packer for bringing the bourbon. I remember back in the day, you and the real Leroy would drive down to Kentucky draft, and then you would draft other drafts in the car on the way back.
That's right. We did that for a WCOP at one point.
Yeah.
That had to be back. That was probably at least the last year, so 07, 08. Now you're bringing it back a little bit.
Yeah. So
that
would be
players.
yeah. You can.
I mean, wireless internet was not so good.
Sketch.
Yeah, 10 years
Very
ago,
sketch back then. So yeah, and I remember you lost it a couple of because you called me and you're like, hey, here's my username and password. I need you to make me a pick here.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just
that terrible RT Sports software.
Oh right, you don't need to bring that.
That's enough.
That's enough. You don't need to do that.
Just kidding, Tim and Mark.
Jay Berg from the chat giving us live play-by-play from the Patriots preseason game that's going on. Tom Brady just threw Brandon Cooks' ball. Cooks dropped it. Brady looks pissed. Jay Berg says, sell Cooks.
Actually, that's a great reason to get them a little bit cheaper.
There you go.
Cheaper now.
Jay Berg also saying Dalvin Cook is the ascendant this year. I'm going to tell you this. He did not make the finalist list.
What?
He didn't make the finalist list because he's already ascended.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You know, it's very...
You know, Paul, we got to be like draft sharks a little bit more and just allow things, pretend it didn't happen.
We have to...
Like when they named Ricky Williams the bust of the year and then a day later he retired from football,
right.
And then they said, oh, that's a win.
We nailed it.
For a 21-hour period.
Hey, they did nail
fine.
it. We have to...
Great job.
We have to fit the choice. We have to fit the criteria to the choice rather than fit the choice to the criteria, essentially, is what we're doing.
By the way, Edelman carted to the locker room.
Yikes. I did not see that. How about that?
Jay Berg hiding the real news. Edelman carted to the locker room versus like, Jay Berg, what are you doing? We have drafts and auctions coming up.
No, you know what? Hold on. Jimmy Wagner is posting about Edelman earlier in the chat. That's probably why Jay Berg...
He limped upfield grabbing his right knee.
Yikes. You know, that kind of stinks.
Speaking of ascending, Cooks just went up another 8 picks.
And we weren't on Julian Edelman. Ray, were you liking Julian? Pretend he didn't get hurt. Is he a guy that you were looking at in the Patriots offense
I don't think I've drafted him at all this year.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Gronk, you have Cooks, you have the running game with White catching passes. So many options there.
Exactly, yeah.
And Edelman, I think, is this his last year? Is this his contract year?
I really don't know. But, I might actually be interested in Edelman if he really falls through the news.
Now you might have
everybody
to.
This news.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell everybody the answer
watch
to
Twitter.
Tell everybody the answer to this next email that we're going to do here.
Hey, by the way, what happened to the shirts?
What shirts?
Gerzak and Addicts.
Oh no, dude, listen. Those are still like Kickstarter hasn't even accepted our application for something like that. Now, I think that Two-Packer might dust off the old Bulkaholics Get Serious shirt this weekend. I can't confirm that, but that could definitely still be possible. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Sal in Adrian, Michigan. Hello, Bluegrass-bound boys. Crunch time. Am I investing an early round pick in Jordan Reed this year or not? Have fun in Louisville, guys. We will. Thank you for the email, Sal in Adrian, Michigan. Jordan Reed, guys. This is a riddle that needs to be answered correctly if you want to be successful this year. Drops all the way down to the 401 in FFPC drafts right now. Unheard of for a tight end that is as prolific as Jordan Reed is to be in the fourth round. Well, he might have had a foot fracture. Ray, what are you doing with Jordan Reed in the fourth?
He's a big headache. I think in the first 40 picks, I'm not sure you want to invest that kind of draft capital in a guy that will definitely miss games. You hate to say definitely, but he has, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he always has. I mean, and the thing is, the problem I have with Jordan Reed is, like, he, talked about having a broken foot when the Redskins never said anything about that. Okay, so you have that. Then you have the fact that this was bothering him last year. Right. I mean, this is not a new thing, and the fact that it's still – I mean, if you draft Jordan Reed in the fourth, and this is – I know Dave doesn't agree with me in this line of thinking. If you draft Jordan Reed in the fourth, and let's say he gets hurt in October or whatever, and he's expecting to miss 4 to 6 weeks or something, you can look at yourself and say,
I'm an idiot.
I'm an idiot. What was I thinking? This is a guy that was already hurt last year. This is a guy that has consistently been hurt throughout his career. What was I thinking? Now, if you want to be risky, and I think that Jared Smola posted this on Draft Sharks today, safe money don't make money. You could certainly take that approach, and maybe Reed plays 13, 14 games, and he's awesome for you.
Reed is a unique case.
He
for
will
me,
not.
I do not. I agree with you with regard to Reed.
Okay.
I don't ever draft him.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's going to be on any of my teams this year. 35 drafts in the bag for you, Ray. How many has Jordan Reed on?
I definitely have. No.
40.
You guys are the worst.
Vernon Davis maybe like 15.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
See, now that's smart.
He's really cheap, right?
He's super cheap. And you know what? He's going to be free this weekend in Kentucky. You have so many teams so focused on out here because in this format, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a flex, a tight end, a kicker, and a defense. So many teams that are focused on receiver. These tight ends, man, like you can get good tight end value seemingly throughout the draft.
Supposedly bad. It looks bad.
Edelman? Really?
Team's apparently bad. So we should talk about Chris Hogan a little bit, not to interrupt you.
This is Chris Hogan, and if you listen to a lot of pundits out there prior to this Edelman injury, a lot of people were on Chris Hogan. Yeah. What about Malcolm Mitchell? Malcolm Mitchell, he sucks.
He sucks, right? Ray, he sucks.
I love him.
You love Malcolm Mitchell?
I have him dynasty.
This is
roster cuts are coming up. You might have to get rid of him or try and trade him.
This is the Eric Balkman philosophy on fantasy analysis. Do I own him in Dynasty? If the answer is yes, then I love him. If the answer is no, get rid of him. You don't want him. Okay, so Hogan and Mitchell, guys to pay attention to this weekend. Hogan if you're a Gerzak supporter, and Mitchell if you are a Ray Chung supporter. And both of them, obviously, as I am Switzerland on this show. And,
per usual.
Yeah, per usual. Draft both of them. Okay, so that was the Jordan
non-contact.
We are so all of us are off Jordan Reed, right? All 3 of us. Yeah. Nobody's in on Jordan Reed. Okay.
It's a non-contact injury for Edelman.
Dude, he's screwed.
Well,
without
don't
saying
say that, but
just deflate the ball and everything will be okay in New
Don't
England.
say anything. We got the auction coming up.
Yeah, these guys know. These are sharp guys in Kentucky. Next email. What's up, Dave and Balky? You all always talk about waiting on a QB. If I do that, who is the guy to take after the top 15 are off the board? That is Bill in Concord, Mass. Now, top 15 is asking kind of a lot here. If I'm going to count off the quarter.
I got tons of them.
After the top 15?
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm sure Ray does.
Do you need me to read them off?
Well, yeah, give me the.
Okay, so the top. So currently in FFPC
what
draft.
What is Rivers going?
Let me just read them.
Sorry.
The top 15 right now in FFPC drafts: Rodgers, Brady.
I don't need the top.
No, I'm telling you.
8.
Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, Wilson, Ryan are the top 5. The next 5 off the board: Luck, Newton, Jameis, Mariota, Cousins, and then you have Carr, Roethlisberger, Prescott, Rivers, Stafford. Those guys are all.
So Rivers is 14, Stafford 15.
Yeah. Okay. So after that, you have guys like Dalton, Manning, Mahomes, Carson Palmer, Carson Wentz. What did I say?
You said Mahomes.
Mahomes. Yeah.
What is he going? He's not going quarterback 18 or 19.
You're talking about the last 3 drafts or
we've had some rookie drafts.
Last 3 days worth of drafts. No, this is strictly football guys and classics.
Only 2 drafts.
What? He's only picked in 2. Okay, so forget Mahomes. Thanks. Good. This is why we need Ray Chung on the show, is he can fact check this. I've been talking. Relax. 2-packer trying to pour bourbon down my throat. I can't do it right now.
Already.
I will.
Not talking to him.
Carson Palmer, Carson Wentz, Tyrod Taylor.
He just had about half.
Sam Bradford, Blake Bortles, Joe Flacco. Let's just stop there.
Go back like 5 quarterbacks. So, I mean, he was – I'm sorry. We were looking
Tyrod Taylor, Carson Wentz, Carson Palmer, Eli Manning, Andy Dalton. Okay? Which one of those guys? Ray, you go first since Dave is clearly preoccupied.
I think all those guys are fine. Those 5.
What's your favorite, though?
Starting with Dalton. I like Dalton.
I think I do, too. And, Dave, I know you like Dalton this year as well.
He's got red hair. He's fair skin.
Now, this is kind of they're just going to say quarterback 16 because he's the top guy after the top 15.
But I mean, Rivers is right there. Rivers is a good pick.
But he's number 14, so he's ineligible.
Yes, according to his stupid question. But if it was the top 13, it'd be good.
Guys, what about Carson Wentz, Torrey Smith, Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, Darren Sproles? I like him too. I think this is a guy that I end up in a few drafts this weekend. And if you want to go uber late, I actually do like Sam Bradford this year too. Matt Kelly does too from PlayerProfiler.com.
I don't really care for him as much, but that's okay.
What if you do the crappy quarterback strategy in Kentucky for Gerzak?
Where's Cutler?
Oh yeah, Cutler. That's enough.
He's way down there probably.
Yeah. That actually is a really good point. 17-10. So he was actually arbitrarily stopped after Flacco. Then he went. Yeah.
Cutler. Why not Cutler?
Okay. Yeah, Cutler's another good guy. Did you see the Dolphins game last night, Ray?
No. I was traveling here.
Oh, that's
you know the flights take a little while.
I was a little busy.
How long the flights take? Like
4
hours,
but you
3 hours?
Where did you?
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay, so that's where you flew from to. Okay, I got you. All right.
Even that's a long flight.
It's not short. Guys, let's get to one more email here before we get into the Ascended talk after the break. And where do we want to go? Okay, here's one from John in Dublin, California. Dear Colonel and Sanders, how far are you guys bumping Odell Beckham if you're drafting this weekend? News came out after the injury he might miss week 1. I haven't heard any talk that he's going to miss week 2. So I think worst case scenario he misses a game. I'm not, and FFPC drafters have not bumped Beckham down. Even the night of the injury, he was still going at the 105, 106. I'm not bumping him down at all.
I would put Mike Evans and AJ Green ahead of him just because of that.
Ray,
I know
would
it's
you?
only one game, but you just don't know how he's going to recover.
Yeah.
I mean,
Are there any other receivers that you would bump ahead of Beckham besides Evans and Green?
well, he may not do that.
What? Oh yeah, that's true. Who would you? Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead. Who would you bump ahead, if anyone? Who would you bump ahead of Odell Beckham right now?
I might just keep him right there. I think. Even last night in Kentucky, he hasn't moved at all, right? I saw him in the
much.
fourth.
He hasn't. Yeah.
He's right after Julio. So the 5th pick, you're kind of stuck in a tough position.
Yeah.
But in Kentucky, you can bid for your draft slot.
Right.
You might not even want that slot.
Yeah, well, and then the confusing thing is, like, what happens if you bid on a slot and then you're still faced with that decision? You know what I mean?
It slips to the 9th pick. He's a no-brainer.
Oh yeah, totally no-brainer. I'm totally with you there. Listen, so glad to have an intelligent person on the show tonight. First we get Greg Sidoris on in hour number 1. We get Ray Chung in hour number 2. Get that bourbon out of here, two-packer. Guys, we have to take another break. When we come back, Ray is going to help us pick the Ascendant this year. I'm so excited. We don't even know who it's going to be. It could be anyone. As Two-Packer leaves his garbage on the broadcasting table. Thank you so much for that. Ray Chung, Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak, much more on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network's 2017 FFPC Ascended, announced in next segment right after these messages. The 2017 Ascendant announcement is upon us. I am Eric Balkman at Eric Balkman on Twitter. He is Dave Gerzak at David Gerzak on Twitter. And our guest tonight, Ray Chung at Chung Knows on Twitter. The first time in Kentucky for you this year. Have you been blown away by how awesome the Horseshoe Casino is and how the drafts are set up here? Is this so awesome?
Eric, I got in today around noontime. I went out for a jog, to fight the jet lag. Okay, 3 miles. I saw one human besides me, and
did you see a lot of animals?
8 geese.
We got stopped twice on the way down by turkeys. On the way down from Appleton to Louisville today, twice stopped by turkeys. So otherwise we would have been here much earlier. Okay, guys, let's get to it. The Ascendant announcement. This is a guy that we pick every single year. The guy that we imagine is going to vault up. Now again, I'm going to be
25% of the time we've been right.
Yeah, at least 25% of the time. This is a guy we expect to vault up like 2 to 3 rounds up into that 2-3, round 2, round 3 area. The guy we expect to make the biggest move when it comes to the FFPC main event drafts. The guy that we expect to move the most. Okay, I have a list. Now, would you guys prefer me to read the entire list?
Yeah.
Here first. Okay.
Why not, man?
Yeah. There's a list of 10. And the easiest way is we'll eliminate guys to start things off. And these are in alphabetical order, okay? Ascendants for 2017. Kelvin Benjamin, Martavis Bryant. Am I going too fast, Dave?
Yes. You think I can write that down?
Kelvin Benjamin.
Yes.
Martavis Bryant. Stephon Diggs. Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Kareem Hunt, pair of Chiefs there. Carlos Hyde. Marshawn Lynch, T.Y. Montgomery, Joe Mixon. Don't give me that look. And Devontae Parker is the last one.
Okay, I'm sorry. McCaffrey and Cook are not on your stupid list.
McCaffrey is going in the mid-second of FFPC drafts right now. How much higher is he going to ascend?
You know what, I think in future years we have to announce this like 2 weeks earlier.
Well, we can do that, but then I don't know how much that helps people.
That's the point, is it does help people because you pick them out.
But we're talking, Dave, we're doing this for main event. We're not doing this for, like, football guys or whatever. Okay? Now, McCaffrey, I was wrong. McCaffrey at the 307, Dalvin Cook at the 310. You want to include them? Are these guys vaulting up to the first friggin' round?
You know what's funny? You laugh.
Okay.
But Reggie Bush,
all right.
when he was a rookie.
Okay. I'll tell you what.
Those guys did do that.
Okay. You are totally right. I would have written those guys off.
I'm putting them down.
Throw them on there.
All right.
Okay. Now we're up to 12.
I'm happy.
Oh, great. I'm thrilled. Now we need to eliminate guys. Okay?
Okay.
Who do you want to eliminate? Do you need the ADPs for any of these guys? Because I'd be happy to give them to you.
I don't think Benjamin moves up enough.
Okay, he's at the 601 right now.
He's not going to move up 24.
He has been moving up. It's going to be difficult for him to continue that momentum into like the 3rd or 4th round. Eliminate him?
Yeah.
All right. He gone.
He's actually not, I mean, Martavis Bryant has done nothing, so why should he move up?
He did all right, but I mean, like the thing is, he would need like some sort of like 4 for 80 and 2 touchdown performance this weekend, right?
Yeah, highly unlikely, but never know.
You on board with eliminating Martavis Bryant, right?
Eliminated.
What about Benjamin? Same thing.
Same thing.
Okay, so Bryant and Benjamin are gone.
Okay, let's go to Carlos Hyde. I don't think with an offense that's going to probably struggle, I don't think Hyde is a person that people are going to get that excited about.
He's got to stink about him, too.
Exactly, because you know why he's Carlos Hyde.
The Niners stink.
Yeah, exactly.
Or is it the injury? It's just stink in general. The Hyde stink. Okay, so getting rid of Carlos Hyde.
He could be a great value pick, but he's not.
Sounds like a virus.
Run and hide.
Yeah, run and hide from Carlos Hyde.
Okay, I don't think Kareem Hunt is going to move up because he hasn't really taken. Andy Reid said,
okay.
We really like Kareem Hunt.
Yeah,
he might supplant.
It has not been glowing praise. It's been tepid praise. And the problem with Hunt, too, is he's like the fringe guy in this list, 708. You'd have to move up a hell of a lot to be in ascending territory.
If Ware tore his ACL.
But then we can't.
Like,
I mean,
the guy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously then. But
that's a draft Sharksian move.
That's so just to keep the tally going tonight, Dave has ripped on me. He has ripped on RT Sports. He has ripped on DraftSharks.com. What's next, honestly? KFFSC?
Well, Alex is listening. Otherwise, I would say something about him.
Go ahead. That's fine.
I like Alex quite a bit.
Alex is the
best. Let me just say I'm really happy because Alex's life insurance policy just kicked in. Unfortunately, mine has not kicked in, so his
Why is that? How has that happened?
Is his wife.
But why is his kicked in and yours not?
I still have to get the physical approved.
Well, you're screwed.
I have a whole lot of problems.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Dave has now he's kind of let himself go. He's what 337 now? Is that what you're at? Tipping the scales?
Yeah, we have about 400 pounds.
400? I didn't think it was that bad.
I'm going to get on that show for Fatsy.
Yeah, the Biggest Loser?
The 600-pound woman.
Oh, okay. All right.
Person.
Bring it back to fantasy. All right, so
Marshawn Lynch, he's been sitting out for a year.
Ray, what do you think about Marshawn Lynch?
I may like him, but is he going to move up around or two?
Well, okay.
I definitely like him. But,
you do? Okay.
But, I mean, he hasn't ascended since...
He's not really playing enough.
Since the trade, right?
Yeah, I mean, like he's hardly...
He's kind of stuck. He's actually
405 right now in ADP.
One of the smallest standard deviations.
And they're also limiting his touches, so he's not going to go up that much.
He's not going to have
2 guys behind him, not only one.
He's not going to have the exposure, like you said, this weekend. And we're officially eliminating Hunt, right, guys?
Yes.
Okay, Lynch and Hunt are done.
Okay, so let's go to Ty Montgomery. He's actually done crappy.
But what about but what happens if he does good in a high altitude scenario tomorrow with that sickle cell in Denver? I'm saying listen. This is a big deal. Yes they do.
John Brown's parents care.
Ty Montgomery's parents care.
I'm sure they both, all 4 or 5, they all care.
Tevin Coleman's parents care.
I'm just saying regular fantasy players don't care about the sickle cell to determine if they're going to draft them early.
I'm saying that as far as Denver goes tomorrow, a place that a lot of people with the sickle cell have not played, if he comes out and crushes it.
This deep.
Hey, listen.
You really think deeply.
Ray, this is the reason you listen to the show, right? With analysis like this. You cannot be throwing garbage here in the casino. They're going to kick you out.
Let's just keep going.
So Montgomery, you're not on? Ray, what about Montgomery?
He's in the 4th round.
I'm not
410 right now.
I'm not saying I mind the player. I'm just saying I don't think he's
He does have to have a huge game, but right now he's a maybe.
Right,
so don't eliminate him totally. Let's keep him on there for right now.
All right, so I guess
and McCaffrey and Cook are obviously still on there.
Just eliminate everyone that we say.
Right.
Right.
That's probably a good idea.
This year's Ascendant, no one.
Apparently,
we ran out of players.
So back to McCaffrey though, because he's already played and he had kind of for him, he had a great game week 2, right? But week 3 was just kind of okay, right? So I don't think McCaffrey's moving up necessarily any more or much more.
That was what I said.
I mean, he has moved up, and I think if he's going to 306, I think there's a chance he maybe another half round. And Cook, same thing.
He's done for the preseason essentially, though.
No, he is. You're right.
Okay, so
I think if people think about it more and more, that they might
looking for that league-winning type player.
I mean, if you're a PPR monster, you have a shot to be RB1. That's what you need to be, right?
But you said his ceiling is top 4 earlier on the show.
Top 4. It'd be a pretty big stretch to do so. I mean, if you're assuming David Johnson and Bell stay healthy, but then who's after that? Why couldn't he be 3 or 4? I don't see why he couldn't be 3 or 4.
Joe Mixon at the 502. Let's move on. Joe Mixon
is going to move up. For sure.
He's going to move up.
That seems really cheap for Mixon.
Yeah, that's where he's going right now. Okay, so we're going to keep him on there?
I think so.
To our final round?
Sure.
See how he does in the swimsuit competition?
Yeah.
Devontae Parker at the 703. This is an interesting guy because we talked him up quite a bit on the show already. But 703, guys, that is a long way to move up.
He doesn't have to move. If he moves up to like the 4th round, that's probably enough.
Is he going to move up to the 4th round?
I think he might. I think
Ray?
I would leave him on there.
Ray, if you're drafting an
no.
FFPC draft?
I would say no. I
You'll
can't
still
see
the 6th round?
maybe the 5-6 turn at
Okay,
most.
so let's
I mean,
get rid of him.
it's still
Get rid
color-
of him
it's still
because
color
it's not
going.
significant enough.
That's fine. Yeah, if it's 12 picks,
Okay.
whatever. It doesn't matter.
At that point, it doesn't matter. Well, I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter. Okay, I forgot what we said about Montgomery. Did we eliminate him?
Maybe.
He's maybe. Okay. So now, we didn't talk about Diggs or Hill. Let's talk about Stephon Diggs because this is a guy that has already been ascending and he could go even more.
I feel like I cannot find a person or analyst that is not saying positive things about Diggs.
I agree.
I cannot find someone who's saying, you know what, Diggs might suck. No one's saying that.
Ray, how many shares of Stephon Diggs do you have?
See, I like Diggs, but he's always injury prone, right?
He has been hurt.
Yeah. But also, people have always said good things about Thielen as well.
Yeah. Thielen is a guy that, and they're working him in the slot
and
now
you got
too.
Cook on the same team.
And Cook, yeah. It's interesting, and the problem with Diggs is that the 504 guys.
We can keep him.
Keep him? Keep him for the final round here. Tyreek Hill, Dave's going to give him a free pass.
Tyreek Hill, he doesn't.
Dave's
have to
like,
move
why
up that much.
are we talking about anybody else? It's clearly Tyreek Hill.
It's tough for Hill to move up a lot more. He's already. I mean, what is he? Where's he at?
405.
I don't. Well, if Hill has a monster week 3,
yeah,
he moves into the 2nd round. I think
second round, Ray.
Late second. I mean,
Eric, you did draft him a few days ago.
I did.
In the 3rd round.
Yeah, I did. I did take him there.
Yeah. So let's say he catches like, I don't know, 4 for 70 and a touchdown, then runs back a touchdown, or has like a 40-yard rush.
Yeah.
It's always like no one can catch this.
All right. Okay. Then let's keep him on. Okay, we got to keep him on there then. So here's the list as I have it, guys. Tell me if I'm wrong. Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Ty Montgomery, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. Yeah.
Pare it down. Who are the maybes that we're not really thrilled about? Ty Montgomery, is he gone? I mean, we have to get rid of some of these maybes. We got rid of the no's. We got to start getting rid of the maybes. Here, I'm sorry. I'm blocking you here, Ray.
Might get rid of Diggs first.
Get rid of Diggs at the 504?
Yeah, Diggs is gone.
Okay. All right. Kind of an upset there. I thought he'd make it deeper in this competition. But okay. Get rid of Diggs. So Hill, Montgomery, Mixon, Cook, McCaffrey.
I almost feel like McCaffrey, because he's going at where he's going, is a little bit.
307 right now.
I almost feel like he should go, and maybe Cook should go too. Okay.
Oh, what a surprise!
Cook is going. Cook.
Yeah.
Really moved.
He's already moved up.
Yeah.
And Murray's back this week too.
Yeah.
Now what happens if hold on? I only got like 30 seconds here. But we talked about this on the way down. What if Dalvin Cook just doesn't play this weekend? That could actually vault him up even further if he played. We're going to let Latavius Murray fart around out there for 25 carries.
Most people are not that far.
No. Here they are. In Kentucky, in Louisville, in Vegas, they are. Okay. All right. So that's my point on Cook. So are we getting rid of Cook and McCaffrey?
I think so. I actually think Montgomery to some extent. I don't see him unless it doesn't seem like he's
done. That's fine.
Have a huge week this week.
So okay. We have to take a break. We'll announce it after this. It's down to Joe Mixon or Tyreek Hill.
Mixon and Hill, right?
Oh my God! Listen, the people
I don't know the answer.
Nobody's tuning out now. They're gonna come back. We're gonna come back right after this. Eric Balkman, Ray Chung, Dave Gerzak, High Stakes Fantasy Football, Fantasy Sports Radio Network. The 2017 Ascendant in the Fantasy Football Players Championship is revealed here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak, Ray Chung for one final segment before we break for the big-time next 3 weeks that are going to be baller with the FFPC drafting. Yeah, no, we're going to break for that. Okay, guys, we're down to 2 guys for the Ascendant. It's either going to be Joe Mixon or it's going to be Tyreek Hill, okay? And I feel like I'm going to have to cast the deciding vote in this, and I'm not comfortable doing this. So, guys, make sure that you're agreeing here. Joe Mixon going at the 502, Tyreek Hill at the 405. Which guy is more likely to move up into that ascendant 2-3 territory? Now, bear in mind, Mixon is going, a half round, almost a full round later than Tyreek Hill right now. Dave, I'll let you go first because I can tell the gears are turning.
Honestly, I wasn't really sure as to what I was going to say. But I'm thinking about what's going to happen in week 3. I think that I think the Mixon, he may not even get the start, and he may play pretty well. I just have a feeling that people might start reaching for Hill a little bit more. I think the people are getting more and more excited about Hill. That's kind of my lean, but I don't know. I mean, I can see if you go for Mixon, I would not be upset because I can see if he busts off, like, even if he comes in the second quarter and busts off a huge game.
Right.
People want to get these rookie running backs, and they just like it. They like that idea. Fournette is falling because the Jaguars suck.
Right.
So I feel like Mixon might be the third guy, but when McCaffrey and Cook go really early, Mixon might move up too. I'm really stuck. I don't even know
that's
what I'm
fine.
saying.
You can be stuck right now. Let's let Ray and I give our thoughts on it. Ray, go ahead.
Okay, Tyreek Hill, right?
Yeah.
Last year, he took the world by storm. Okay, both of them have somewhat of a shady background, right? So we don't have to even think about morals here.
Oh, God, I didn't even think about that.
True.
Hey, let's pick out the two guys with the most questionable moral behavior for our Sunday. I didn't even realize
Okay,
that.
let's think about the coaches, right? Marvin Lewis.
Winston.
Yeah.
Marvin Lewis, I mean, he's still, pushing Jeremy Hill out there.
Right.
So he does favor him at least for the first few games. Okay, does that play in the mind of FFPC drafters?
Mm-hmm.
Hill is still going in the 10th round?
No, Tyreek Hill?
No.
Oh, Jeremy Hill.
Jeremy Hill.
Yeah,
Later even. I thought it was even 12.
But you also have Gio there.
And Gio.
Jeremy Hill currently going at the 11-11. Giovanni Bernard has got to be after that, right?
Yeah, he's there.
So who on the Chiefs
12-12
can have
for
a
Giovanni
great
Bernard.
game and push out Hill? I can't really see anyone affecting him, really.
Not Kelsey.
Okay, if Alex
Not
Smith
Conley.
gets hurt, okay,
I mean, his
Mahomes
first
just vaults him up even more. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. And Jay Berg chiming in from the chat right now. Hill will go in first. And I got to tell you, Jay Berg's done a lot of FFPC drafts. You might know. I'm thinking this, guys. Joe Mixon, there's two other guys there. Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard. The offensive line is not good.
And two other rookie guys, just going a different way, McCaffrey and Cook. They're going to go ahead of him.
Right. You have Tyreek Hill, who I think, Dave, you turned me on to this. I think that the drumbeat has not been strong on him enough. I feel like he's going to be the type of guy that everybody catches up at. He's going to be that electric pick that could move up to that second round.
The number 7 wide receiver last year
after week 8. Tyreek Hill's my pick for the Ascendant 2017.
I'll go with that.
All right, Ray, you good with that?
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen. What? We all concur. We all conquer tonight. We conquer and concur. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our show. So there is your Ascendant, Tyreek Hill. I want to thank Ray Chung. Ray, it was a pleasure, man.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for coming on. We'll hang out.
For the first time being like a radio
I know.
person.
Totally. Ray did a fantastic
You
job.
talk like that normally.
Yeah, I do.
Hey, Ray, great to meet you.
Hey, listen, Ray, much better job than Dave tonight. And all kidding aside, you were fantastic. So that is going to do it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. And a programming announcement: we will have no show next week. We'll have no show the week after. We will return live after week 1, after Vegas. So I want to wish good luck to everybody out there drafting at the FFPC. Remember to get in touch with Greg Sidors if you need to get hooked up with a room. We'll return live Friday, September 15th. If you are listening to the Fantasy Sports Radio Network, Mike Blewett and George Kurtz on the Roto Expert Show will be up next. Good luck in all your drafts this year. Thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon. Your weekend, Kentucky weekend, officially starts
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Him again, the sound the engine in is like a bird. You see fireworks and Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work, I know just who you are. See, use a bitch, your hormones probably switch inside your DNA.
Hi, you've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, Labor Day's the end of summer, but I'm not ready for my summer style to end.
It doesn't have to. At Old Navy, you can still get amazing dresses and tees.
Old Navy?
Yep, summer's ending, but saving on Old Navy style is just beginning at our pre-Labor Day sale. Right now, get 30% off all jeans, 40% off all dresses, and 50% off all tees for the whole family.
All jeans, dresses, and tees on sale?
Yep, at 30, 40, or 50% off at Old Navy.
I'm ready for that.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid 8/24 to 8/30 in stores only. Excludes active licensed men's package and clearance.
Rush into Old Navy for big back-to-school savings. Right now, get up to 50% off the best kids and baby styles with jeans from just $12 and super soft tees from just $5. Today at Old Navy and OldNavy.com. Valid 8/24 to 8/30. Select styles only.